Here I'm going to demonstrate using a switch statement instead of an if-else-if statement. So generally switch statements and if-else-if statements are used for multi-way selection. So it's kind of a programmer's preference what they might want to use. Most of the times you can rewrite an if statement with an if-else-if statement. But not all, I'm sorry, you can rewrite an if-else-if statement with a switch statement, but not always. Switch statements are not great when you're looking at ranges of values, like if a test score is greater than 90. They're much better suited for when you're checking individual values. So I'm going to come over here and I'm actually going to rewrite this. And if you look at this if-else-if statement, everything's based on the choice that's entered by the user, and the choice is an integer. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to change this to a switch, and choice is what I'm going to make my selection on, and the first choice is going to happen if the choice is 1. So what I do inside of my switch statement is I put case labels. So case 1. Case 1 means if the choice itself is 1, then I'm going to execute all these statements here, and then I'm going to break out of the switch statement. Here, I'm going to replace this with case 2, and I'm going to leave all the code the same. This is going to be case 3. And I need to add a break. Now remember, if you don't add these break statements in, it'll execute all the statements in case 1, then all the ones in 2 and 3. So you have to have the breaks on there. And this is, I can't really say choice is not equal to 4. So I'm going to make this my default case. You can put a break here. This one's not as important because at this point you're at the end of the statement. So it's going to break out anyhow. And I need this to close my switch statement. Okay. I'm just going to tab these over so this looks a little bit neater, and you can see the code inside each of the cases. It would, if you enter the case statement initially, instead of, trying to rewrite it like I did, it's probably going to tab over a little bit better for you by default. Okay, so here I'm going to run. And it should do the same thing when we saw it before. If I put in 4 months, we get $480. If I run it again, let's say I put a child membership for 6 months, and if I run it again, I'll hit 4 to quit the program. Okay, so this is just an alternative to the if-else-if statement. It's multi-way selection, but you specify what variable the selection is going to be made on, and then for your case labels you list all the possible things that can be stored in the variable choice. It might be 1, it might be 2, it might be 3, and at the very end is the default, and the default is just like an else statement and an if-else-if. If none of the if or if-else conditions are met, then it goes into the else. Now, please look at the, make sure to read this section carefully. There's some additional examples where the case labels are characters, and that's a little bit different, and it also shows you if you have 2 possible case labels that will execute the same code, like a lowercase a or an uppercase a. So please read that section carefully.